The offseason is officially here for the Chicago Bulls, so it is time to talk about what is going on, y'all. Faiz Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, man, NBA, and here to talk about the Chicago Bulls. So if you're a Bulls fan, make sure to hit that big red subscribe button down below. Make sure to follow me on all my social media platforms, and guys, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I drop a new video. Let's get into it. All right, so as we all know, the Bulls did not qualify for the playoffs. Heck, they didn't even qualify for the play-in tournament, which is quite frankly embarrassing after the Nikola Vucevic trade, in which I thought that we're guaranteed to make the playoffs. But I digress. Our point being is the offseason is here, and now it is time to think about next season, right? We got to start already thinking about next season. And in the offseason, what are we going to do, right? Well, before we do anything, before we get to the draft, before we get to free agency, we got to talk about, okay, who's staying on the roster and who are we kicking out? Who are we just flicking away, getting rid of, okay? So, I'm going to go through the entire roster and tell you who I am keeping and who I am getting rid of, okay? So, let's start with the obvious at the top here. We got Nikola Vucevic, our franchise center. Obviously, he is here to stay. He's under contract for 3 more years. Whether or not, we keep him for all 3 years, I don't know. But certainly for next year, Vooch is our second best player, arguably our best player. Zach LaVine, keeping him. We know that. Thaddeus Young, all right, he is under contract, but next year his contract is not fully guaranteed. I would like to keep Thad. I think Thad is a smart, savvy veteran who brings a lot to a team. And to me, he gives you that versatility. So I do like that. His contract is pretty affordable at $10 million. If possible, if salary cap is not a big issue and we can afford him, I would like to keep Thaddeus Young. I think his veteran presence, I think his versatility, I think all of those things combined give you a guy who just adds to a winning team, right? Thaddeus Young at times was the second best player on this Bulls team, and that's not exaggerating at all. After Zach LaVine, and I'm talking about when it was before the Vooch trade, when it was just Zach LaVine, Thaddeus Young was at times their second best player. That's how good he was this season. So I want to keep him. Tomas Satoransky, he's not a free agent next year, but again, not fully guaranteed contract. As far as keeping Sato, I would like to move on. I don't think Satoransky is the answer long-term for the Bulls. And so I would like to have them heavily invest in the point guard position. And that would mean then that we do not need Tomas Satoransky. Because here's the thing. If you go into this next season and Satoransky is still playing big minutes for you, I wouldn't mind 10 minutes off the bench. But if he's playing big minutes for you, right, 20, 25 plus, that's a problem. Because that means you haven't upgraded the point guard position, which is a huge position of need. The biggest by far going into this season. So, sorry, Sato, I love you, but I'm good without you. All right, and we have Kobe White on the roster, who I'm already telling you right now we're not getting rid of because he's on a cheap rookie deal. All right, so Sato, I would like to move on from him. Al-Farouq Aminu, unfortunately, he had a player option for next year at about $10 million, and I can't blame him. He exercised and opted into it because he's not very good, so we have to keep him on the roster. He was a free agent next year if he had declined it, but he's not going to get that money elsewhere. So, I mean, he was on the roster, and he was not in the rotation. I don't expect him to be in the rotation next year. Maybe he could get some garbage time around 5 to 10 minutes, but he's just not very good, and we're pretty loaded in the front court now. Cristiano Felicio, finally is a free agent, and we can kick him to the curb and get rid of Felicio, who is an absolute waste. The worst contract in Chicago Bulls history, and I'm not exaggerating. We gave this man a 4-year, $32 million contract, and it was just the most mind-boggling, dumbest decision ever, and we are finally at the end of the contract. If it was not for the contract, we would have gotten rid of this guy so long ago, would have waved him, kicked him to the curb. Goodbye, Cristiano Felicio. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. You will not be missed. All right. Pat Will, rookie deal. He's staying. Lauri Markkanen. Lauri, I had big hopes for you, buddy. I had a lot of hopes for you. I thought you were going to turn into Dirk Nowitzki light. Okay, maybe that's a little too much, but at least you could have turned into a little bit of a Kristaps Porzingis, if you will. Couldn't even get that. Just regression after regression after regression. And when we traded WCJ, Wendell Carter Jr., I had doubts and thoughts that maybe we traded away the wrong big because he was playing pretty well in Orlando and you were sucking it up in Chicago and just relegated to the bench. Billy Donovan had no choice. You, my friend, have not lived up to the expectations. I am sorry, but I am ready to move on from Lauri Markkanen. He has no toughness. He's not assertive. He's not aggressive. He has not developed much on the offensive side. Defensively, we don't even need to talk about it because he's not a very good defender. And so the whole appeal for Lauri was going to be a skill set of an offensive-minded shooting big, but he didn't even provide you that. So hopefully another team can go ahead and get the most out of Lauri. I'm sorry that the Bulls couldn't. And maybe if he wasn't a free agent, we could have, but at this point, you cannot justify bringing back Lauri Markkanen unless it's on a stupid cheap contract, and he's probably going to be looking for big money. So sorry, Lauri. I'm good. Let's get rid of him. All right? So Lauri Markkanen, Cross. I'm just checking it off my list here. Kobe White, I already talked about rookie deal. We're keeping him. Daniel Theis. He is also free agent next year, and I want to bring back Theis. Because here's the thing, folks. Look, he's a veteran. He can play the backup 5. He can play the 4. He's a solid rebounder, a very good defender. This is the type of guy you need on your team to be a winning team, right? These are the glue guys. These are the guys that help you win. And similarly, like Thaddeus Young, he is at this stage a veteran, if you will, but a young one. Obviously, he's not that old. And it just provides you that depth that you need, all right? So Theis, I love him. You can start him. You can bring him off the bench. And his contract was very cheap. Now, again, it depends on the dollar amount. But if you can bring him back on a relatively affordable deal, I would love to bring back Daniel Theis. So, yeah, let's get him back here. Garrett Temple. He's also a free agent this upcoming season. We signed him to a one-year deal. I'm indifferent. Don't really care much for Garrett Temple. He gives you a little bit of depth on the wing. He can play the 3. He can play the 2. So I wouldn't mind. Again, you can come back on a cheap one-year deal. I only want a one-year deal for Garrett Temple. I don't want multi-year deals for Garrett Temple. Okay, so if you want to bring him back, one-year deal, cool. Otherwise, I'm good. Denzel Valentine. It is time to get rid of Denzel Valentine, folks, and I am so happy that we are finally here because just like Cristiano Felicio, maybe not to the level, Denzel Valentine frustrated the heck out of me. I have no idea why we even picked up his option this season. I'm talking about a guy who would make behind-the-back passes when you didn't need to get fancy, just has no court awareness, just absolutely was lost on the basketball court, and I don't know why he was even in the rotation at times. Billy Donovan should have benched this man a long time ago. I'm sorry that it took this long. Denzel Valentine, good riddance, buddy. Just like Lauri, don't let that door hit you on the way out. Goodbye. Troy Brown Jr., he is under contract for 2 more years, so he's not a free agent, so I'd like to keep him. Ryan Arcidiacono, team option. Don't really care. I'd like to get rid of Ryan Arcidiacono. Yeah, he plays hard. He's a scrappy kid, folks, but come on now. Like we can use a roster spot on somebody better. Javonte Green, I think he's got some potential. He's a free agent. I would like to bring him back if we could get him on a cheap deal. But again, these guys don't really matter much in terms of money and in terms of the roster because – again, they don't cost much, and of course, they're not going to play much, right? So you basically have Arcidiacono, Javonte Green, Devon Dotson, and Adam Mokaka, all right? Mokaka I can get rid of. Archie I don't want. Javonte Green, I think there's some potential there. And Devon Dotson, yeah, I think there's some potential there. You can keep him there maybe on a 2-way deal, send him to the G League team. So essentially, just to recap for you guys, this offseason, all right, I want to get rid of Felicio. I want to get rid of Denzel Valentine. I want to bring back Daniel Theis. I want to get rid of Lauri Markkanen. And I want to get rid of Tomas Satoransky. All right. And I want to keep Thaddeus Young. And yeah, so that's what I believe will be the roster. So essentially, if all that happens, going into this next offseason, not counting draft and free agency, the Bulls would have Vooch, Zach LaVine, Thaddeus Young, Alfredo Aminu, Patrick Williams, Kobe White, Daniel Theis, and Troy Brown Jr., and then you got a bunch of the scrubs, if you will, on the roster. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree or disagree with any of the players that I would keep or not keep? Let me know down below, as always. Thanks for watching.